Every single day you make hundreds, maybe even thousands of choices, and you probably don't even think about most of them. But what if I told you that every single yes you say comes with a hidden price tag? Today, we are peeling back the layers on a concept we all think we understand, but trust me, we rarely master it. We're talking about opportunity cost.
Okay, let's get right into it. You chose to be here, watching this. Now, the cost wasn't money, right? The real cost was the time you could have spent doing something else. Maybe firing off that last email, learning a new chord on the guitar, or honestly just kicking back and relaxing. That thing you gave up? That is the hidden price, and it is at the absolute heart of everything we're about to uncover.
So let's start with the basics, right? The version of opportunity cost we all probably learned in Econ 101. It seems so simple, so straightforward, but as you're about to see, this is just the very, very tip of the iceberg. First off, a quick but super important clarification. We tend to throw around the terms trade-off and opportunity cost like they're the same thing. They're not. A trade-off is just the act of choosing, picking A over B. It's the decision itself. But the opportunity cost, that's the value of what you missed out on, the benefit of that next best thing you didn't pick. So the trade-off is the action, the opportunity cost is the consequence. Make sense? And this brings us right to the classic definition. Opportunity cost is simply the value of the next best alternative you give up when you make a choice. And look, this isn't just about dollars and cents. It can be time, it can be fun, it can be an experience, any kind of benefit really. Every time you say yes to one thing, you're quietly saying no to something else. And on the surface, it seems so easy. The formula is clean, right? You just subtract the return of your chosen option from the return of the best thing you gave up. Like you see here, if stocks get you an 8% return, but real estate could have gotten you 10%, your opportunity cost is 2%. It's a nice, logical calculation. The problem is, our brains are anything but nice and logical. Okay, let's move on, because this is where that simple story really starts to fall apart. What happens when it's not just two options, but 200 or 2,000? This is where we crash right into something called the paradox of more. The psychologist Barry Schwartz pointed out something absolutely fascinating. When we have infinite choices, the pressure to make the perfect choice is all on us. Think about it. If there are only two options and neither is great, well, that's just bad luck. But if there are 1,000 options and we pick one that's just meh, we feel like we failed. It's our fault. And this brings out the dark side of having all this choice. It leads to what experts call analysis paralysis. We are so overwhelmed, you can't decide at all. It also creates these insanely high expectations and just drains our mental battery through decision fatigue. The result? We become so aware of the opportunity cost of every single path we didn't take that we end up less happy with the one we actually chose. So it's not just the number of choices. Our own psychology plays a huge role, but it gets even weirder. It turns out that just how a choice is presented to us, how it's framed, can completely trick our brains and flip our decisions on a dime. Check out this really clever study. One group of students was offered a choice: a one-day fun activity tomorrow or a two-day fun activity in a week. That's the hidden frame. Now, a second group got the exact same choice, but with a tiny little change in the wording. They were told it was at the expense of 1 day of studying time or at the expense of 2 days of studying time. That's the explicit frame. The choices are logically identical, but one version just states the obvious opportunity cost out loud. And the results are stunning. In the hidden frame, almost everybody, we're talking over 90%, chose the longer 2-day activity. They just saw it as a pure gain. But in the explicit frame, where the cost of lost study time was right there in their face, the preference did a complete 180. A majority now chose the shorter, 1-day activity. Same choice, totally different outcome. Wild, right? So here's the crucial takeaway. Our brains don't automatically do the math on opportunity cost. We often just ignore it unless someone shoves it right in front of us. And when they do, it can fundamentally change what we value. It shifts our thinking from what do I gain to what am I about to lose. We are just not the rational little calculators we like to think we are.
All right, you might want to brace yourselves for this next part because we are about to go even deeper down the rabbit hole. There's a new economic theory that suggests opportunity cost isn't a simple number at all. No, instead, it's this mind-bending circular thing, a choice inside a choice.
This new idea is called intrapersonal equilibrium. Forget those simple formulas for a sec. Think of it like this. To know the true cost of choosing an apple, you first have to imagine what you would have picked if the apple wasn't there. Let's say the banana.
So the cost of the apple is actually the value of the banana. It's a choice that depends on a totally imagined choice. You're basically negotiating with a hypothetical version of yourself. This creates this kind of crazy recursive loop. As you can see here, your choice depends on its cost. But that cost is determined by the alternative you would have hypothetically chosen. This means opportunity cost isn't some fixed number floating out there in the world. It's created inside your own head, based on a decision you never even made. We literally invent the cost as we make the choice.
Okay, so if we're not rational, and we get tricked by framing, and opportunity cost is this weird negotiation with ourselves, how on earth are we supposed to make better decisions in the real world? Let's bring this all back to some practical tools we can actually use.
One really powerful way to think about this comes from Jeff Bezos. He talks about decisions being either one-way doors or two-way doors. One-way doors are the big ones. They're irreversible and have huge consequences. You should make those slowly, deliberately. But he argues that most decisions in life are actually two-way doors. They're reversible. If you mess up, you can go back. So those should be made quickly to avoid that analysis paralysis we talked about.
And to help with those bigger one-way door decisions, here's a simple, structured approach. First, clearly list out your options. Second, assess the value of each one, and not just the money, but also stuff like happiness or time. Third, try to put a number on those values where you can. And finally, always consider the long-term impact, not just the quick win. This whole process forces you to make those hidden costs explicit, just like in that study.
So we started with a simple formula and we ended up with a recursive paradox. We've seen that the hidden price of every choice is shaped not just by numbers, but by our psychology, by framing, and even by our own imagination. Which leaves us with one last big thought. If every decision is a negotiation with the ghosts of paths not taken, when are we ever truly making a choice in isolation? When are we ever truly rational?